Hello guys! It's only the best Trek from Grim Dawn that I was just playing. I hope all of you by now are aware of where it plays in the game. So how are you guys doing? It's been a long time. The Gazer is awesome. Well, it's my buddy. It's my streaming buddy. He's been with me since the beginning, almost. Hello? Is volume okay? It's been a while. Want to make sure everything's up and running still. Sounds like you guys can hear me, so that's good. You demand more. Well, today I'm going to show you some of the more that's coming your way in the upcoming patch. Patch that, in fact, is coming later this month. So I suppose you guys are probably anticipating those new items I've talked about a little bit in our last dev update. Why don't we take a look at some of them today? You can see I've got my collection right here. Nice little group of 10 items that are coming your way. These will drop from any source in the game, but you'll find them much more often if you're tracking down those new monster totems we're adding. And let me tell you, those are a lot of fun to just explore the world, kind of get back in the campaign, and get loot while kind of getting in all the little corners that you've probably skipped before. And it's just fun to activate those things and just have a ton of heroes and champion monsters popping out at you. And those things can drop loot on top of that. So the totem drops loot, and the enemies that are spawning will drop loot. So all in all, it's a pretty good haul. And if you track down enough of them in a single run, you can get a pretty good amount of loot, which I think is pretty satisfying. And these items, these 10 items here, like I said, will drop much more often from these totems. So, which one should I pick up first? I misspelled Facebreaker. Voidspire. Let's take a look at Voidspire. Start with the best one, Stormwind. Well, there's something special about Stormwind that I'll show you today. Great names. Well, thank you. Yep, Chaos Saboteur would be what you'd probably be doing with this. But there's a few other options if you want to experiment. It did seem like Chaos Melee didn't really have a lot of great options, especially if you're doing a Fire Strike build. So we thought we'd fill in the gaps a little bit. And for some fun and experimentation, why not some Chaos Nightblade support too while we're at it? It does kind of look like a mini Charzal mace, doesn't it? Oh man, those melee swing effects look so much better than they used to. People that are joining us pretty recently, past Forgotten Gods, wouldn't even know this, but these used to look way less impressive. Some space. Alright, someone mentioned Gate to Many Worlds. That one is kind of a fun little experiment. For the pet players out there, it does something a little different than most of the pet items in the game. It actually opens up an AoE that will hurt enemies based on your pet stats. Let's see if we can get it to trigger. I should have put some dummies closer to that part. There we go. And unlike most procs that are on items, this one specifically scales with pet bonuses. And it turned out really cool visually too. Like if you want to hold a black hole in your hand, that's the item for you. So illusions, great. Pet builds, really fun new twist. A pet scaling Inquisitor Seal. Yeah, I mean, it kind of would be like a pet scaling Inquisitor Seal. Except it doesn't buff you, it only hurts enemies. Yep, there's subtotems you probably saw in the corner. We'll get to those, don't worry. What's next? You want a pet item that can make you dual wield? There are items you can already use that would let you dual wield. Two-hander or Nocturne? Stormrend. Yep, all good options. Which one first? Are there any changes to Crucible Loot next patch? There are no changes to Crucible Loot next patch. Alright, let's do Stormrend. Now, if you were paying attention, I did put Primal Strike on my right click right before I equipped this item, and it was grayed out until I equipped Stormrend. Now, you might recall that Primal Strike is a two-handed technique. However, not with Stormrend. So if you've ever been interested in trying out a one-handed Primal Strike build, well, maybe you should get one of these. Now for the actual sets of Stormrend. And yes, if you dual wield them, you can double strike with Stormrend. Next build it is, that's right. Hold on. I need to give myself some means to dual wield. So we can put two of these on at the same time. Where does like that? Oop! I picked up like every component in the game. There. Alright, now we have two Stormrends. Let's go! Boom! Kind of reminds me of that one champion from League of Legends from forever ago. I forget what his name was. He was like a Viking with storm axes. It's been so long since I played that game. Stop adding stuff to Grim Dawn. You thought we were done with the game. You thought wrong. We're not quite done yet. Does it work with Transmuter? Yeah, I believe it does. You probably wouldn't want to use it with the Transmuter since the bonuses on the items are more catered towards cooldown, but you can. I see the pets are trying to kill each other behind me. What are those strange shrines? Those are monster totems, and that means you have not been paying attention to development updates. We'll talk about those in just a bit. Does it always dual hit? Yes, it would always dual hit. And here's the cat just crawling over my chest. Man, since I last streamed, you guys didn't even see the puppy, who's now a grown-up dog. It's been that long. But he's hiding somewhere. Probably because the cat is scaring the crap out of him. Alright, what's up next? Show you the strange shrines. Oh, we'll get to those, don't worry. Any VFX updates like in the past patches? There's a few I can immediately think of. Nothing crazy like we did in the past few patches, but we updated the heal chain effect on a bunch of mobs because it looked way outdated. Blade Arc will actually change its visuals based on certain item modifiers now. So there's a Chaos Blade Arc that you could get on some items that will now actually look chaos. And Blade Spirits have visual changes based on transmuters, or not transmuters, item modifiers as well. I've missed teasing you since I have nothing to tease for months. I don't know, I've been teasing you in Grim Misadventures for months. Yes, there is a mythical Will of Fate. Cat, you're covering my screen. Now that mods have gotten more popular, have you tried any of them? So then which ones, and what do you think about mods in general for Grim Dawn? I think the fact that people are making mods is awesome, and some of the ones that are popping out lately have an incredible amount of work behind them. So I think the future of modding for Grim Dawn is definitely looking bright for you guys, which is great. That's exactly what I was hoping for when we gave you guys mod tools. Myself, I have not been playing them since, it's not like just because Grim Dawn is finished in terms of expansion content that I'm not working anymore. So I don't exactly have as much time as I used to. In fact, I have even less time than I used to because we're fostering 2 children. So time is a precious commodity these days. So it's not for lack of desire to check out these awesome mods. It is simply just a logistical issue. Let's see. The new items are exclusive from the new totems. They're not exclusive, but they are very rare outside of the totems. So you can get them in other places. You could get them in the Crucible, in the Shattered Realm. It's not likely that you will get those in those places. You will disappointed with the Howl of the Wendigo visual. I'll take a look at that later, I guess. Might just be an old one. Are you late to the stream? Not so much. You missed a little bit of the beginning, and you can always catch up on it when it gets put up on YouTube and such later. Is there any chance for Blackwater Cocktail's new effects for the transmuter stuff? Will that ever be possible? So the transmuter for Blackwater Cocktail does change the visuals. However, because the transmuter changes the behavior of the projectile, we actually can't update the visuals from items. Because it would actually, if you have the transmuter and one of the items that changes the visuals, then there would be a conflict of which projectile behavior it's supposed to use, and then it wouldn't look right. When will my children start wielding the Nerf hammer? We're working on it. Once they can learn to read, we'll get them started. More secret quests. Secret quests are really fun to do, but they are also a lot of work. That's why we always save them for the end. Okay, one of the scions. Which scion should we pick up first? So one of these two-handed scions is actually serendipitous error in your favor, because when we originally planned the art, it looked in one direction, and then I ended up changing the stats, and then there was a mismatch of what the stats were and what the appearance was. And so rather than just cut one or the other, we just went ahead and made 2 items. So now you've got 2 two-handers instead of 1. Now the Scion of Arcane Force, as someone mentioned, does support Elemental Cadence. So have fun with that. That is definitely some Battle Mage stuff for you. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's Hell of the Wendigo, one of the ones that updated Blade Arc. Then it probably is. I'll take a look. It depends on if it does damage conversion or not. That's the main trick. Visuals of Maven's here are toned down a bit. Are there any plans to do the same for Whirling Blades from Seal of Blades? Makes your character look like a blob of blades with that. I'll take a look. I don't think so, though, because it's a different type of visual. Dual wield these, yeah. It's very common in Grim Dawn to dual wield two-handers. Will there ever be an infinite stash built in? Many are afraid of using GDIA due to some privacy concerns. I've never had a problem with it. We are not going to do an infinite stash as part of the base game. There are design reasons behind why the stash is limited. Some people will disagree with that, and I understand that. I personally use one of the one of the external GD's inventory tools because I am one of those people that likes to keep everything. But that is actually not good for the average player, and that is why the base game is not included. But as with modding, we allow you guys to customize the game to suit your needs, and that's why things like GD Stash and GDIA are options for you. What are those rings? Those are cheater rings for developer testing purposes. It's when I want to clear an area and not worry about dying. Yes, dev rings indeed. Okay, next one up. Scion of the Screaming Veil. Now this one is really fun because of the special effect it has on it. And I'll run over to some target dummies to show you what I mean in just a second. But let's take a look at the stats. You can dual 200 with the Crusader for the D3 mod or Grimmarillion mod. Well, there you go. Another advantage of modding. So the reason this one is fun is because it has one of the best spell effects in the game attached to it. Am I going to crit on these guys? Yeah, I can crit. There it is. There it is. You might recognize that ability from a certain end boss of the game. And now you get to use that ability for yourself. What will happen to Twin Falls? Now, I was expecting that question to come up. The answer is that you'll be able to go through that bridge. We're going to open that area up. We've actually been working on some new little bit of content over there for you to explore. There'll be some mobs to fight there, there'll be some loot to collect, and it'll offer you a shortcut from a rift gate straight to Tyrant's Hold. Not as popular of a destination as it used to be, obviously from vanilla, but it's still really cool that you'll be able to, if you progress through Tyrant's Hold, down south towards the Twin Falls Bridge, from that direction, you'll be able to repair the bridge and proceed to the rift gate. It will not change the progression that you have currently in terms of how you get to Homestead. So for new characters, they will still progress exactly as we intended through Homestead, or down through Smuggler's Pass, through the Mountain Deeps, and into Homestead. But for characters that already have all the rift gates, or for example, I've already cleared that area, they can just go through Tyrant's Hold, down south, repair that bridge, and you have another way through. It opens up the world a little more, and in a place that people have been looking forward to seeing for a long time. Did I go over the shrines already? Not yet. You haven't played Grim Dawn since Let's Epic came out. How's that game doing? Can you get Ultimate for Elite as is Veteran for Normal, like a tick, so we have to finish the game only twice? If you own Forgotten Gods and you've beaten the game or gotten to the Forgotten Gods content on ultimate difficulty, you can just buy merits for your alts that allow you to skip difficulties. So that already achieves exactly what you're looking for. You could actually play the game through just once, start on ultimate difficulty, and play all the way to 100 without ever touching normal or elite difficulties. And that is a really fun challenge, I'll tell you that. Alright, next up, let's look at Nocturne. Sure. So for Nocturne, we wanted to add a little bit more support for specifically Pierce Shadow Strike. There's a lot of support for Cold Shadow Strike, Acid Shadow Strike, even some weird ones like Ether and Lightning. But weirdly enough, Pierce got kind of left behind. So we thought we'd fill that gap. Are totems random in the world, or do they always be certain places where they have a chance to spawn at? So totems are semi-random in that they have fixed spawn locations, but they select from a list of possible spawn points. So, for example, there might be a totem in Bloodgrove, but you will not find it in the same place every time you play through. It might not even spawn in Bloodgrove sometimes. It might spawn in some area nearby. In terms of how many totems there are in the whole world, I think somewhere around 40 totems can spawn. There's a lot. They're in dungeons. They're in little corners of the world. Places you probably haven't explored in a long time because you haven't had much motivation to go there. In fact, there's a totem along the path to Steps of Torment, for example. So if you're running Steps of Torment and farming it, that might be a good pit stop along the way. Figure out where the totem is, clean it out, get some loot, and then keep going. Is their patch release date already set internally? Not for you. We're probably going to make it, but there's some tech stuff behind the scenes that's happening. I think if you've been paying attention to our Facebook feed, we did mention that the Xbox port is still coming, and one of the things that we've been working on recently for that Xbox port is actually further optimization for the game, which means the PC version will once again benefit from improved performance thanks to the Xbox port. So anyone complaining that there's an Xbox port coming that's going to impact the quality of the PC version, that is absolutely not true. In fact, the opposite is true. Yes, there is a Pierce Shadow Strike halberd from the secret area. However, that's a two-hander. And what we wanted to do is get a one-hander in there as an option. Next week? No, I don't think it'll be next week. We still have to put out at least one more test build. Will we ever get that shirt? I don't know. It would be nice to have a physical goods store, as you guys have been asking, but so far getting someone to actually coordinate that and manage it has been demoralizing. We need a continuation for the Tomb of the Heretic dungeon. It's too short? What? It's one of the biggest roguelike dungeons we have. Packed with bosses to fight. Next DLC for free for Forgotten Gods owners? Well, we're not doing another DLC. So, yes. Do I think that Shadow Realm is in a good state? I think it's generally in a pretty good place. A lot of builds can get to 60-65, which is kind of the goal of what a build should be able to reach. Anything beyond that is kind of anything goes, so I'm not too concerned that people are gaming it. I'm not super thrilled that people are gaming it the way they are, but people seem to like it that way. And I guess we'll probably just leave it as is. And by exploiting, I'm talking about the aggro abuse that some people are doing. We could fix it pretty easily, but as I said, people seem to like it. So, whatever, have fun. Was it Forgotten successful? Did it exceed our expectations? I would say it's exceeded our expectations. I wouldn't say that it's blown us away or anything, but it's definitely done really well. You guys have definitely supported the expansion a lot, and we really appreciated you telling your friends, buying it for your friends. As you know, the definitive edition came out, which just has all of that stuff bundled together. So if anyone that's joining us just now can just pick up everything all at once with just one click on Steam, and I think on GOG as well. How good is the drop rate of skeleton key compatible materials from totems? I wouldn't say it's very high. It's not exactly the thing you'd be targeting for that sort of thing. Who actually likes it? Are you referring to the aggro abuse? I don't know. Some people seem to. How about a loyalist pack in the future? I'll see if I can convince Almanaxi, since he'd be the one making all the item art, and he's made a lot of items for a very long time. He's been at Crate for almost 8 years, and for all that time, he's been making items. So he might need a break. So what am I working on that will appeal to Grim Dawn players? It is another game that we're working on. I'm not really ready to talk about it yet. It is starting to come together. It's going to be a while still before it's ready, of course. But it is something that at least some of my time every day is dedicated to. Do I think there's enough cold spell support in the game? Seems like that in Chaos, like where a lot have a ton of it. I mean, some people don't like flash or Elixir Flash Freeze, but it is an option. There's Sky Shards, which is one of my favorite skills in the game. There's a few cold skills from items as well. So I mean, the support certainly exists. Rune of Hagarat, of course. Cold Grenado, actually, if you use some item skill modifiers. I definitely could hover over another item, couldn't I? It's Phase Breaker. So right along the time that people were asking for Mythical Will of Fate, we actually already had this item in mind. And you might be wondering why I bring up Will of Fate when I mention this. And it is because it has a certain hidden effect that you might be familiar with from other items. Or some dummies to shoot. Nothing like having a one-hander just pierces through everything. Grim Dawn open world first third-person RPG when? A Grim Dawn RPG would be pretty fun to make. It'd be a lot of work though, a lot of writing. New modifiers for Canister Bomb scheduled in the next feature. I don't think we're planning anything for Canister Bomb. Canister Bomb is in a great place now. Grim Dawn Chapter 2 confirmed. Can we add some more Circuit Breaker for hardcore players? You're running Mark of Divinity in almost all your builds. There's definitely some other options in terms of Circuit Breakers that are not all in the same slot, though. Have I looked at the expansions of Titan Quest? Are you talking about the ones released more recently? With, was it Atlantis and Ragnarok? I have not played those myself. I did see the last boss of Ragnarok, and the lava did not look very good. You want to say thank you for all the work we continue to do with Grim Dawn, best ARPG in decades. Well, thank you. Glad you appreciate it, and we definitely do enjoy continuing to work on Grim Dawn, and we'll support it for at least some time still. There's some cool stuff still coming your way. It's not going to be, expansion size, but there's still more stuff. Can we list piercing on weapons? You find it strange that it's a hidden modifier in an item. I don't know, it's kind of a fun thing that's stuck around since the beginning. Let's see. Next up. GD lava sounds like water. That's a long story. Technically, it is water. Grim Dusk, sequel to Grim Dawn. That's so original. Can we have a transmog mechanism where you can transmog the visual effect of auras or completely remove it? I don't like how the Seal of Blades Thorns aura covers the whole of the character, etc. Someone mentioned Seal of Blades earlier, and I'll take a look at that visual and see if we can maybe tone it down a little bit. Would we ever release a Grim Dawn remastered version? That's a little early to say, considering that we only just had an expansion. A little premature to be talking about a remaster. Maybe in a few years. Grim Dawn Ultra HD Edition. Will there be new green items? Actually, there are a few new green items, though. I have them placed here. I think I do. Let's see. Yeah, there they are. Do these names seem familiar? So, there were a couple bosses in the oldest roguelike dungeons we have, the Steps of Torment and the Bastion of Chaos, specifically Ilgor the Eternal and Lagathok. Those guys did not have any special loot to them, and that seemed unfair. Since we've had a standard on later roguelikes that every boss had something special they dropped. So we thought we should catch them up. There's the cat. Yes, Ilgor no longer a meme. You might actually have a reason to check him out. These are, as you can see, medals. So they do have some skill modifiers for you. So these 4 medals are being added retroactively into the games. That means that all versions of the game will have them. Base game, Ashes of Malmeth, Forgotten Gods. Now, I think someone earlier asked, any plans on nerfing retaliation bills? They're still way OP in your opinion. I'm not necessarily sure I agree with that. They are very powerful, for sure. I'm not sure I would consider them OP. They're certainly very strong for certain things. Any nerfs for Krieg DKers? This set that does all content. I mean, most sets, or really all sets, can do all content. So what is it about Krieg DK that really needs a nerf? Curious, it's early, but is there still planned content after the totems? Well, someone asked about the Twin Falls, so that area is something we're still working on, and that's going to be after the totems are added in this next patch. It was 3 months ago, but did I see your Halloween Death Knight? I'm not sure what you're referring to. Was it a costume? In that case, I probably did see it. If you're talking about a specific build, I'm not sure. Show the Tome of Names. Yeah, you've definitely never seen the Tome of Names before. Will you ever make a boss that requires more than one person to defeat because fighting alone will be too difficult? No, we would not do something like that. Grim Dawn is a game that you should be able to play by yourself. You should not feel obligated to hop online, get another person to join you, just so you could do certain bits of content. Can we get new melee skills? You only play melee and there are not too many options. What kind of melee skills are you talking about? There's a lot of attack replacers, for example, a lot of weapon pull skills already. Can I tell when the patch will drop? It'll drop later this month. So, not many weeks left in February. The Lens of Karn are shared by a huge lake. Will there ever be underwater locations or something like that? I don't think we'd do an underwater area, at least not in the literal sense that you're swimming underwater. That would require some new tech to even do. What about the 5th roguelike dungeon Nemesis boss? Do you consider that about it? Well, there isn't a Nemesis boss that matches the Celestial theme, and Celestials aren't a faction, so there wouldn't be a Nemesis to farm towards. What is my opinion about the new Reign of Terror D2 mod? You've never played D2 yourself, it's amazing. Well, if you've never played D2, it's kind of hard to get context of it, but from what I've seen of the videos and the gameplay footage, it looks amazing. They've done a really great job of making the game feel like Diablo 2, which is really cool. I mean, Diablo 2 was one of my formative year games, so... And one of my coworkers actually works on Diablo 2, so that's really cool. So this item actually has a granted skill. Will there be adjustments to pets? Quite a few, actually. Next patch will have quite a few changes to pet itemization and some changes to Hellhound because it's not really keeping up with the other pets. If I need a date for Valentine's Day, just let you know. I really appreciate that, but I don't think my wife would. Unless she's invited too. In that case, maybe it'd be fine. So this is a nice short cooldown ability to kind of fill the gaps in whatever playstyle you're going for. If you like Elemental, this is something for you. Yeah. And it has a cool griffin face on it, so you know. That's a melee skill you're talking about? Well, there you go then. Any new areas in the upcoming update? Not in this next update. In the following one, there will be some new areas. We're also working on new levels for the Shattered Realm. So those of you that like the Shattered Realm, you're going to have some more variety coming up soon. And we have one left. Yes, if you didn't expect 1.1.7 to exist, it is in fact confirmed. There is a 1.1.7 on the way. Now the last one we have is called the Crypt Stalker, and that is another pet item. And this is another thing that we kind of wanted to experiment with a little bit. It grants you an aura that gives you some pretty nice resist reduction, which will be good for some pet builds. However, it has a very short radius, which means you have to get on in that action, stand alongside your pets, and support them with your presence. What exactly is the more to this arc I put on the forum? So if you were looking at the images I posted in there, you might see that Blade Arc has some visual changes based on certain items. Any planned animation updates for main characters in the future? If you're talking literal animations, no, that's not likely. Oh, another thing that pet builders might like that I'll show you really quick. Since pet builds came up and changes for pets were mentioned, one of the sets is going to get kind of a subtle change that will open up some new options for you. Where are we? Lost Souls. So the big change here is that the Hellhound no longer has that vitality damage conversion forced onto it, which means you no longer actually have to use the Lost Souls set as a pure vitality build. We did keep that conversion for pets, but we moved it to other items. So you can still get exactly the same amount of vitality conversion that you needed before. But if you want to use this set, you now have a little bit more freedom in terms of how you want to build. Which, again, more variety is good. And you finally make a hybrid combat summoner. Yeah, I mean, that would be the idea of this kind of item. What's the ETA on an item that turns you into one of your pets, making you get pet damage and resistance stats? I don't even know how we'd begin to do that. So, not anytime soon. Buff Spell Scourge set. Spell Scourge does have some pretty beefy buffs coming its way. So that's the 10 items that are coming your way. Pretty fun, unique stuff that I look forward to seeing what you guys do with them. You're so glad you're off work for being sick. Sick, right? Now show them again. I think anyone that's missed them can look up the recording later. And maybe towards the end of the stream, we can take a look at some of the fan favorites again, really quick. Any buffs to the Harbinger set? I don't think the Harbinger set is in need of any buffs. You feel almost pandered to, almost because you didn't see the Mythical Will of Fate. What was the Mythical Will of Fate item ID? Let's see. Expecting to remember off the top of my head. Let's see, 38. There's your Mythical Will of Fate, as promised. Have you ever thought about changing how the Execution Nightblade proc works? It always kind of bothered you that your Begothian Blade Master while had her on the same proc chance as the other procs, it was overwhelmingly more powerful, like maybe reduce its proc chance. I don't know why we would reduce its proc chance or its damage. There's no reason why you, for example, wouldn't take both. Because when you expend your weapon proc pool, you aren't hurting the other procs. You're just removing the chance of making a default attack. So there's no reason why you wouldn't use Execution alongside some of the other ones. So just because Execution is really strong doesn't necessarily mean that the others are not worth investing in. Are there plans to change the way dual wielding works of AVB? It currently only uses the offhand for attacks. No, there are no plans to change that. I talk about totems. Are you late? You are not late. I am going to have to make myself invincible for this part, though. So, as I mentioned earlier, for some of you that are just now coming in, totems will begin spawning all over the world in the campaign in semi-random locations. So you can kind of predict roughly where areas to spec them in, but they will be random in terms of where they appear. There are 5 types of totems: Ethereal, Chthonic, Beast, and Beast is split into 2 subcategories because it has a Corvin Beast version and kind of a general Beast version. Then we have Eldritch and Undead. Each of these totems in turn has several different spawn pools with different weights in those spawn pools, which means every time you activate one of these totems, while there will be some rhyme and reason to which mobs will spawn out of them, it's not guaranteed that you will fight the same things. So every time you activate a totem, it'll be a different experience. And the loot that comes out will, of course, be different as well. Can it spawn a nemesis? It cannot. The other thing is that in addition to there being 5 different types of totems and them having 3 different spawn pools inside of them, there are also 3 tiers of totems. And these increase in terms of what kind of mobs they spawn and how difficult they are, and in turn the loot they drop will be better. So greater challenge, greater reward. And yes, the totems spawn on all difficulties. They are scaled by difficulty, so you're not gonna click on a totem on normal difficulty and get yourself destroyed by a barrage of heroes. But on ultimate difficulty, you might click a totem and say 8 skeletal golems pop out. Why not? That's a thing that could happen. So let's click on this totem. As soon as you click a totem, it activates, and enemies will begin spawning. I'm of course horribly ungeared on this character, so my damage is really sad. Let's see if we can pump this up. God mode activate. And the totem's finished, it pops, all the loot comes out, and enjoy. It's a good chance of dropping blueprints, has a really good chance of dropping uniques. The higher the difficulty and the more difficult the totem, of course, increases the chances of that. In addition, the more difficult the totem and the higher the difficulty, the higher your chance of getting the special new drops. You suspect I might be cheating? No, I think I was cheating a little bit there. We're planning on an option where you can check how many blueprints you have yet to learn. Not in game, no. I think GD Stash might actually do that. Any plans for reduced, not disabled camera shake option? Maybe abilities only shake. It helps with hit feeling, but it's a bit too much. You don't want to disable it. Well, that's tough, because then we're adding options within options within options, and suddenly the options menu is just filled with options. So then you need options for your options, so you can decide how many options you want to see. Any chance of a sort of nemesis tracker? Seems like they have so many spawns to search, it can be a pain just to find them. Well, that's why they have the big icon that pops up on the minimap when you get close to them. Having trouble getting level 84 blueprints, will this help? Yes, that will help. Hunting down totems will increase your odds of getting blueprints. Does the game have a smart loot system based on what your preferred damage type is? You always felt it was with my drops you got. No, it does not have a smart loot system. The thing about gearing in Grim Dawn is that there's so many ways to build characters. You could make a demolitionist that converts all your damage to cold, making a cold grenado build, and suddenly cold items are relevant to you. So it's not so simple to just say demolitionist should get fire items and chaos items and lightning items. Demolitionist might want physical items, or cold items, or even ether items. So smart loot system would be a very complicated beast. Can they be abused by going to the main menu and back in game to try respawning shrines at a location close to Riftgate? There aren't any totems that are particularly close to Riftgate, and they have random spawn locations, so you're going to be restarting a lot just to see if maybe one sort of close to Riftgate appears. So if that's fun to you, knock yourself out, I guess. I'm not sure it's going to be that efficient, though. What's my total active time in Grim Dawn? A lot? Are we counting the time I worked or just the time I played? The time I played is something like 2,500 hours. The time I worked is considerably more than that. When's this update coming out? You need to know. It's coming out this month, which means it is in the next few weeks. So that's sort of the big stuff for this upcoming update that we have. As I mentioned, we have the 10 new items, we have all these totems, and those are the highlights of the patch. As I also mentioned before to those that are just coming in, we do have performance improvements as well. So some of you might be seeing some boosts when it comes to areas that have a lot of monsters on screen. How effective do I reckon totem hunting will be compared to nemesis hunting? Hard to say. If you enjoy it, do it. If you don't, don't. There's a lot of ways to hunt for loot in Grim Dawn, and generally our goal is to provide you as much variety as we can. Can I make Golgazar Heart compatible with Radigan set? Make Acid Gunslinger Inquisitor. The Golgazar Heart did have some changes coming up, so you'll see what that will be like. Will it come on the 13th, same as Wolson? I don't think it'll be the 13th because that's going to be 8, 9. It's going to be next Wednesday. Yeah, that's not very likely because we still have to put out at least one more test build. We have to make sure that's stable. There aren't any new bugs. The existing bugs that we had have been fixed. Because as I mentioned, there are performance improvements, but as often as there are tech improvements on the back end, there are often some issues that have to be resolved, which is why the patch is still in testing, and has been in testing for quite a bit of time now. That'd be a way so you can see the min-max rolls of items in your inventory. You always find yourself going back and forth on Grim Tools to compare sets of duplicate items. That'd be pretty convenient. I'm not sure it's going to happen at this point. I do agree that it's a nice feature to have, so you can kind of see if you got the best thing you can. You just came in here to say thank you for making the most replayable game you've ever played. Glad you like it. I feel that with the totems you'll find it even more replayable than before. What's my favorite build? I have a Spellbreaker that's Nightblade Arcanist. Not exactly a conventional endgame build, but I'm having fun with it. I'm not really pushing timers here. Just messing around with Sky Shards, some Shadow Strikes, because why not? It is primarily a Sky Shard build. Toxic work environment, literally unplayable. No more Rift Claws not sending off after being knocked down. Man, I don't even know what's up with those Rift Claws. If they're still doing it, I give up. I tried so many times. Am I excited for Diablo 4? I know a lot of people that are working on that game, so I hope they do a good job. I personally love playing RPGs, so the more options there are, the better. So if they do a great job, great, and I look forward to playing it. If they do a bad job, that's really disappointing. We'll see what they do. Sounds like it's going to be a while still. Can I show the 2 changed Bulbasaur amulets? Is that what we're calling them now? Expecting Blizzard to do a good job. There are a lot of developers in that company that still like doing what they do and do a great job when they can. Oftentimes the issue is not with the developers, but with certain people above them that decide that something has to ship. I personally know some very talented people at that company. Whether they get to use that talent or not is maybe not always their choice. I don't know. Do I have... I might actually have those guys placed in here. Yeah, I don't think I've placed them in this test world. Sorry, you don't get to see the Bulbasaur rings. Or medals. You heard there was a tweak to the goal set. Can you show it? No, there wasn't a tweak to the goal set. There was a tweak to the Lost Soul set. Can we make Torn Explosive Strike work conversion for Primal Strike and Fire Strike respectively? At the moment, it's not convertible. It is a little counterintuitive, I agree. It's not the best. It is the system we have and the one we have to deal with. So unfortunately, that's not going to change. That's where the basic conversions come into play. If D4 is awesome, you'll be very happy. It'll be good for the soul to have Diablo be back where it started. It certainly would be. Seeing Warcraft 3 Reforged so ugly, D4 is doomed. Well, the thing about Reforged is that it seems like almost all of it was outsourced. Make of that what you will. They might patch it and make it better. It does seem to be in pretty rough shape right now, though. Am I aware of the bug that won't let the character enter DC prison? Level 100, all main quests done, the gate is still closed. Then you messed something up, because that's reputation based. It opens automatically. You might also want to just verify your game files and make sure that your Devil's Crossing reputation isn't messed up. Do we plan on adding a teleporter for end of non-key dungeons too? No, but a lot of dungeons do have shortcuts back out. My thoughts on capitalism? Well, it's kept society from murdering each other completely so far. It's probably not the best thing, but it's not the worst thing either. Torchlight 3 hype. Can't say I am hyped for Torchlight 3. It seems like they made a really dramatic turnaround right at the last minute there to go from an online MMO type of game to more of the Torchlight 2 style. And I just don't see that turning out well when it happens so late in development. Maybe they'll surprise me. Thank you for continuing support for Grim Dawn. Is there a chance you can get an easier way to add drop sounds instead of using third-party tools? I'm not sure we'll do that at this point ourselves, but again, that's what mods are for. Can you expect some more news on the Town Builder game? Yeah, Madeira. When can I expect some news on the Town Builder game? Dave Brevik seemed a little pissed when he didn't get the call to lead the Diablo franchise recently. That's cute. What are the chances of Yugal and Attack Surueki, the 270 devotions, getting some buffs? I don't think those two need buffs. Riggs is Drieg. I don't think so. I don't think that's accurate. Have I thought of streaming more often? I would love to. I'm not sure what I would often stream about because our content updates don't come as frequently as they used to. When we had Forgotten Gods on the way, there was something to stream about all the time. What is that cat doing? The cat is just sitting on my chest, doing its cat business. Just sitting there and purring. I wonder if you can even hear her. And she's eating the mic. What are the stats in the cat amulet I'm showcasing? It has really high pierce damage. Plus 10 to moodiness. Requires level 101, of course. Looking for the City Builder 2. It's generally rejected to. Well, great. From what I've seen of the City Builder so far, I haven't been personally involved with it a lot, especially not recently. But it's looking great. It's going to be a very pretty game, and fun game at that, of course. Is the new pistol missing skill mods on purpose? Yes, it is. What about some items that must have in about 70% of builds like Final March boots, Pants of Barbaros? Could you give us some alternatives? Well, I can tell you the Final March boots are not going to be as appealing as they are currently. Chauces of Barbaros have their place. I don't think they're necessarily in all builds. Some other pants did see some buffs. Some other boots did see some buffs as well. You're sure Madeira is here and he's always watching. Yeah, I'm sure he's here somehow. He isn't saying anything, just enjoys watching you guys get annoyed that there hasn't been any news on the Town Builder. Where are the witch gods? Where are they indeed? Loyalist Pack 3 of Cat Pet when? Yeah, Elmanoxy, Cat Pet's when? And yet, plans to add some support for vitality damage type pets after rid of conversion from Lost Souls 1. So as I mentioned, the removal of that conversion isn't the end of support for that kind of playstyle. We simply move that conversion to other items that you probably were already using with the Lost Souls set. So you can do exactly what you did before, but now you can also use the Lost Souls set in other ways. What do I think about Chris Wilson, the PoE game director? I do not have an opinion on him, since I have never met him personally. So it would be kind of weird to have a very strong opinion about someone like that. Would it be very hard or possible to add shapeshifting to Grim Dawn? I mean, nothing's impossible if you put enough programmers on it. Would it be very hard? Yes. It would also be very complicated to have shapeshifting in a dual spec, dual class game, is then you have to figure out how to combine the skills from the other masteries to work with shapeshifting. If I want to see if Madeira is watching you, just need to say something that'll aggro him. I'm not even sure what that would be. Add my cat to the game. Alright, so I'm just sitting here on this character. I'm not even showing you anything. How about if we go back to some of these items that have been equipped for people that might not have seen the earlier display. Oh yeah, Madeira, if you were paying attention and actually liked to make money and show the people that you're still listening to them, you should like totally show some screenshots of the new town builder. Because like OMG, they're asking for them and you're not giving them anything to look at. So for those paying attention, this is Primal Strike with one-handed weapons. Yeah. What is the purpose of the Fumet grips and the Fumet of the Questing Beast? Meme items? Excuse me, those items are very legitimate and have been used in the build. I'm pretty sure. Zent has an RTS fan. Were you disappointed at the remastered version of Warcraft 3? I was a little disappointed by how buggy it released. Maybe they'll fix it up and it'll be worth playing later. I really liked Warcraft 3 back when it was new. I spent a lot of time making mods for it. So it was definitely dear to my heart, and I would definitely like to see the remaster be in finer shape. Ether Wind Devil. You're talking about this. No, not this. Yeah, that one. Wait, what? Okay, that one, yes. So the Wind Devil still does lightning damage with this item, so it still fits for it to be lightning themed. So I'm not sure we're gonna do an ether version of this. New patch when? New patch soon. Let's get it. Blizzard soon. This month sometime indeed. Is there any work on new character modeling? I'm not sure what that question is asking about specifically. Are you talking about like new models for the main characters, like the playable characters? Because we're not doing anything like that. Maybe there are mods that are gonna do something like that. We should definitely consider streaming content outside of the strict GD update thing. Make it a personal stream page talking about game in general and gameplay showcasing. I mean, that would certainly be fun. I'm not sure it would be appropriate to do something like that through the official Crate channels. Like, if you guys like watching me stream, I could think about doing that more on the side, but it wouldn't be to the Crate Entertainment channel, because then I'm not, I'm not supporting Crate Entertainment by playing some random games, as much fun as that is. Not to mention, if I start swearing up a storm because something happened in WoW Arena, probably wouldn't want that associated with Crate Entertainment's channel. Plus, if I did stream, it would be pretty late at night. Probably after 8 p.m. when the kids are asleep. Is there an item in the game that reduces 100% of skill recovery time? I mean, not all the time. There are items that give you a chance of doing that. There we go. Gate to many worlds. Such a fun visual. Will there be streams of the other games when they're ready? That is entirely up to the other teams. You can bet on it that when the game I'm working on is more ready for you, that I will definitely go up on stream and I'll show it off to you guys. Whether the town builder is shown off, I think it's very likely that will happen, but that'll be entirely up to the town builder team as to who streams it and when and how and all that. I doubt they're gonna ask me to do it because I'm not working on the game, so I wouldn't be the person to talk about it. I can't talk about that game as intimately as I can about the inner workings of Grim Dawn. There's several other games we're working on. Create Entertainment is ramping up several projects. That way we always have something kind of on the cusp of release. So we're not ever going to end up in a situation where we don't have anything ready and Create Entertainment is bleeding money. We want to be around for a long time so that you guys get to enjoy the things we work on. And that means we have to work on multiple projects. Yes, there's a new update coming. It's coming later this month. It will be pretty cool. Just do us all a favor and don't get bought out by Activision or EA. Well, they certainly haven't offered, so I'm not too worried about it. If it was possible, would I like to work on a Titan Quest 2? I'm not sure. The mythology setting does kind of limit you in terms of what you can do. It has sort of certain tropes that people expect, and characters that are very established, that not necessarily remove all creativity, but does funnel you towards a certain direction. So I don't know. It'll definitely be a change of pace. But we already built a Grim Dawn universe, so if I ever got to work on another ARPG, why not make it Grim Dawn 2, you know? Will this game get another engine update? Well, it's actually getting another engine update in this next patch because we are going to throw in more optimization improvements. Will we get another expansion further down the line once other projects are more developed? I'm not sure that's likely. We'd more likely just start work on Grim Dawn 2 if we were at a point where we wanted to keep supporting ARPGs. Do you all work on each other's games? Any hints I can give? Even something like an item or asset I'm working on. I have contributed to the town builder in the past in pretty small capacity. Just a few little things here and there. I'm not very involved in the project at all. Some people do jump around between the projects as they're needed, especially the programmers. Artists too have jumped around a lot. It's really, since we are a small team and we have a lot of things going on right now, we do have people that jump around and help out where they can. But in terms of what I could show you, I can definitely not show you any assets. Did we ever play any of the Torchlight games? Are you excited to see what the devs behind Torchlight 3 are working on? I did play Torchlight 1 and 2. I enjoyed them back then. I think I mentioned already, I'm not sure how I feel about Torchlight 3 because of the last-minute changes they're making. It makes me concerned for the quality of the product that they'll be at the end. Maybe they'll surprise me. Does the Town Builder relate to Grim Dawn universe? No, the Town Builder is not related to the Grim Dawn universe. Although I think when they were adding some like random names that generate like when you make a new town and it just autofills a name, I think it does use names of Grim Dawn towns just for fun. And some of the villager names too, I think are several of them are from Grim Dawn. how important is it that you send crash reports? If you have a reliable crash that you can repro and you get crash reports from it, most definitely do send crash reports, because then can help us figure out the issue for sure. Is this the first time consoles will help a PC game? I'm sure it's not the first time, but this time is definitely helping you. Will mods ever be available through Steam Workshop? You thought there was a reason not, but I don't remember the answer. Well, the first reason is that we would need to implement it, which is not necessarily trivial, since Grim Dawn mods aren't set up in a way that you can have multiple mods running at the same time. The other thing is that if Steam Workshop kind of took over, then people that don't play on Steam would have a hard time getting mods. For example, GOG users. Not that there's a substantial amount of them compared to Steam users, but, well. Are we exploring VR? We are not exploring VR. I don't think VR is quite there yet to change the world, personally. Are there some graphics improvements lurking in the upcoming update? As I mentioned at the beginning, there are a few visual improvements coming. It's not the sort of substantial overhaul of visuals that we've done in the last few patches, but there are some visual improvements coming, yeah. If we make a Grim Dawn 2, please keep offline play as an option. It's so nice. That'll be very likely, definitely be on our minds. I'm not sure how Grim Dawn 2 would be, if it would be mostly online. Always online does have its advantages. It also has its disadvantages, as you can obviously imagine. Mod support would definitely be great, and for that, offline play would have to happen. Is that a changed mortar trap conduit? I don't think so. Well, first off, those aren't even demolitionist ones, those are soldier ones. Imagine wanting the graphics to be improved. I mean, there's always something that could be improved. Questions to all GD devs. Do you guys attend any of the popular video game related exhibitions around the world, like E3, PAX, DreamHack, Gamescom? Some of us have attended them in the past. I've attended PAX East every year for the last many years. I don't think I'm going to go this year, though, because children. So that's made things a lot more complicated. Once they're older, maybe. What are my thoughts on the direction of ARPGs going right now? Seems like the direction is pretty great, because you have more options than ever. So if you're a fan of ARPGs, it's kind of the golden age, isn't it? Will there be any more DLCs for Grim Dawn? Probably not. Can we add ray tracing to Grim Dawn? I don't think we're gonna do it ray tracing, no. Oh, really? You're going with your son this year? So see, his son is old enough and might actually be interested. I've got a 4 and 5-year-old derper, so they don't really understand games that much yet. I've been exposing them to Mario Maker, though. Made them level specifically to train them in the ways of the Mario. Oh, there's the doggy. There's the doggy. That was a puppy not so long ago. Now he's a big old dog. Ah! He is a lazy boy. No, that's actually a Boston Terrier, not a Frenchie. So we're gonna have to wrap this stream up really soon here. Get back to work and all that. If you guys have any last minute questions, this is the opportunity to ask. Yeah, it's a very strange cat. Very strange lap cat. Is there any plans to introduce a class like a priest? Well, we're definitely not adding any more masteries unless we do an expansion. And it's not likely we'll do an expansion, so it's not. I don't think we'll be adding any more classes. But if you're looking at a priest, you would be thinking probably Inquisitor Oathkeeper, which is coincidentally a paladin. When is the port to Xbox? Hopefully soon. This next patch is a big step towards that. Can I host direct by Protoss? He's about to stream GD. Yeah, we can probably host someone. Make dead bodies and their looks more dependent on the cultural background and location they're from. Are you talking about like the decorations that are like the corpse decorations? I mean, that would make sense. It'd be a lot more work to add all sorts of models like that, which is why right now it's just generic bodies all over the place. Could Grim Dawn ever have dedicated online service of auction house economy? Well, definitely not of an auction house. Dedicated online, it's simply too late to do for the game at this point. It's something that should have happened at the beginning if it was going to happen. Is there be an option in the game to change the game speed, for example, a slower mode? Not in terms of official settings. I think some of the mods might let you do that. What is it, dog? What's the beefy spell scourge buffs? Go, go, go. There's a number of them. You'll have to see for yourself when the patch comes out later this month. Okay. So yeah, that's about all the time we had today. I hope you guys enjoyed the preview of the 10 items. I hope you enjoyed the preview of the monster totems, and I really hope that you guys enjoy hunting them down and getting all the loot that pops out of them. The patch, as I said, is coming later this month. Maybe we'll post the changelog in advance, although you people can never contain yourselves, so maybe that won't be the best idea. We'll see. Maybe we'll stream again sometime in the near future, just for fun. And I'll consider streaming on my own time. We'll see. No promises there. But thanks for stopping by, guys. Hope you enjoyed the stream today. We'll see you next time. Take care.